Welcome back. We have Michelle with us again. Appreciate all your help on this. So this is video number 3. We're going to show you how to clean your BG-60. Now, if you're using it a couple hours a day, you could clean it about every 2 or 3 months. If you're using it overnight, more than 4 or 5 hours a day, you should clean it once a month. So the first thing we're going to do is disassemble the machine. So we're going to unscrew the lids of the cups, and we're going to take off the tubing too. So she's going to unscrew the cups and she's going to pour out the water out of the cups and put them aside. And we're going to, okay, we got the water out of the cups. Now we need to disconnect the tubing. So there's the tubing from the tower to lid 1. Yes, we're going to go clockwise on the wing nut. And great. Now, okay, now we're going to take off the tower. We're going to take off the tower. So now we have all that out of the way. And there's one last step. We're going to take the tubing out from that's coming from cup 1 to cup 2. Excellent. Now that this lid has to stay on because it permanently goes into the machine. But now we're ready to drain the machine. Okay, so now we're going to drain the water out of the machine. Great. Now this water, we just filled this machine, so this is clear water, but normally it'll have a color to it if you've been using it for a month. So
It will be purple.
and now go all the way. Yeah. Excellent. And by the way, if she takes out that little black plug, it'll drain easier. There'll be less of a back pressure. But we're going to pull out that black plug. And if you have a clamp, you can unclamp when you go to do all this. Just remember, write a big note. Clamp, put clamp back. Make a note to yourself, literally. Put clamp back before using. Okay, now we're going to use sink water, warm sink water, and we're going to put in about 5 cups into the machine through the funnel. And it's always good to put a towel. Do you have a towel of some sort to put under the spout there? So we're going to fill it up to the top of the side tube. You're going to, funnel. We're going to be watching as we get, if you overfill in this case, it's not a huge deal, but you want to get it towards the top of the side tube. Usually about 5.5 cups fills it completely. Okay. And just great. And now we're going to just gently rock them. Is it filled?
Not quite. There. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to take the funnel out. We're going to take the funnel out. And we're very good. This is gives a little agitation. Put a little shimmy in the machine. Great. And then we're going to spill it out. Oh, we'll take the towel off.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally you would take that towel off, but that's fine. So you're going to rinse it. You're going to see. Okay, so here's the thing. We're not going to do this over and over and over again because we just filled the machine from scratch and it's clean. But you're going to do this procedure as much, maybe sometimes people do it 5, 6 times if there's a lot of particles in the machine. There's always going to be a few particles at the end. So you can't get all the particles gone, but when it's down to a minimal amount of particles, we're going to be ready for the next step. So this might be 2 or 3 rinses, it might be 5 rinses, but just keep repeating this until there's very few particles showing in the sink. And remember to rinse out your sink, by the way. After you dump the machine, you want to rinse it out so you can see if there's any fresh particles going into the sink. Okay, so now that we've rinsed the machine several times, we're going to do what's called our citric acid sea salt, or citric acid, I'm sorry, salt deep clean. So now we're going to do our deep clean with citric acid and salt. So the formula is 4 level tablespoons of citric acid, or 60 milliliters or 2 ounces in a measuring cup, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So what we're going to do is get our quart jar. We're going to get our quart jar. I'm going to fill it with sink water, warm sink water, all the way to the top. And we're going to measure out the quarter cup of citric acid. We get a spoon. Do we have our big spoon? Okay, so we're gonna pour in the citric and stir, stir. Okay. Preferably, I like to stir while I'm pouring, but it's not really going to settle. And then we're going to measure out and pour in a teaspoon of salt. It can be any kind of salt.
This is what I had.
That's a teaspoon, right?
This is 1 level teaspoon.
Excellent. Pour that in, stir. We're going to stick the funnel in the machine. We're going to stick the funnel in the machine now.
Okay.
I'm going to pour that in the machine. And then we're going to add about another cup and a half of water to top it off. This is sink water now. You don't need distilled water. So we're going to get some more sink water and top it off to the fill line. That's about another cup. Again, the total fill is around close to 6 cups, but I like to say 5.5, and then you just have to watch it.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get it near the top.
There.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we're ready to run it for 30 minutes. So all we do is plug it in. Everything's open. We don't seal anything up. We just run it open like it's standing. We can stick the plug back in if you want. The black plug, you could stick that back in. And you can reclamp it this time, because but it doesn't really matter that much because it's vented through that hole. And we turn it on. Did you turn it on?
Yes. Can you see it or no?
No, we just go back a little. Yeah, the light. And we're gonna go for 30 minutes. Okay, now we've run the machine for 30 minutes and we're ready to we turn it off. This is the deep clean. Now, because we actually didn't run this machine 30 minutes and it was just clean, so we're not going to see anything like you would see. But when we go to dump the machine out, you're going to see a deep purple color, like a reddish purple color. That's the interaction with all the particles that the machine's been cleaning off the plates. It should have a deep purple reddish color, and that's normal. But we're just going to dump this now because we just had filled the machine and it was perfectly clean. But we're going to show you what to do. So pretend that this was running 30 minutes and that she has been using that machine a month. She would see a very dark color, but we're just going to go through the motions here. Okay, so let's dump it out. Pull out the plug. Yes, there'll be no back pressure then. And she's going to dump it into the sink. And once again, you will see a very dark color. There's a little bit of a color here, right?
Yes.
But it's going to be very dark normally.
It will be purple. And this will be the second rinse color.
Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing we did at the beginning. we're going to put the funnel on there, rinse with sink water.
Oh,
We're going to fill the quart jar with warm sink water or hot sink water, and we're going to put in about 5.5 cups to the top of the fill line. We're going to rock the machine after we fill it, dump it into the sink, and go. Sometimes people have to go, depending on how good people are with their cleaning. If they neglect the cleaning, they might have to rinse, 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 rinse. Sometimes people will use the citric acid twice, but it's best to keep up with your cleaning and you won't have to do that. So we're going to put in, that's about 4 cups, and we're going to do about another cup and a half. And we watch the side tube when we get to the end there, as always. How's the side tube doing?
perfect.
Excellent. Now we're going to rock it. It's going to give a nice little agitation, and then we're going to dump it out. Okay. Now, let's really make sure. Let's look under there. I want this time this no, dump it out even more. Let's pretend this is the last rinse. Just watch it and make sure all the drips are coming out. And don't touch those sharp edges on the bottom of the machine. Okay, so let's say we've done this 2 or 3 times and all the particles are, pretty much gone and we don't see any particles or just a few in the sink. The final rinse is going to be with distilled water. So let's get out the distilled water. You don't necessarily have to do, the reason I want to do distilled water as the final rinse is because we're filling it with distilled water only, and this makes sure that the machine is free of all sink water. You could just do about a quart on the final rinse. It doesn't have to be all the way to the top. And this way we're making sure that the machine is going to be 100% distilled water. So this is the final rinse. Let's assume that you've rinsed it enough times to get rid of most of the particles. And once again, we're going to rock it. Give it a little rock. Step back. What kind? Yeah, we go. She's got it. The shimmy shake. Okay, now we're going to dump it. Very good. Okay, now this is the distilled rinse. So now we know the machine is cleared out of sink water. And now we know we have distilled water in there. And we're ready to reassemble. Now, before we do this, I just want to, this is the same as setting the machine up. So there's no particular order, but the first thing we're going to do is we need to, before we put the tower on, we need to get the lye in the machine like we did. But before we do that, we want to get everything ready with the cups. And the last thing we're going to do is pour in the water with the lye, and then we'll put the tower back on. So the first thing we're going to do is get the cups filled with distilled water and stick them back in the cup holder. Countersink, click.
Yep.
Does that, there we go. That's cup one. And
Did you hear it?
no, but that's
It,
good.
it's
All
pretty
right, so we're
loud.
going to attach the tubing from one. We're not going to do the tower yet. We're not doing the tower yet. because we're going to fill it straight up. You got to go counterclockwise. It's confusing, by the way. We're going to put our funnel in the machine. We're going to get ready to make our lye mixture. So we're going to do the still water only. Always distilled. We're getting our lye mixture ready. So she's going to measure out 30 grams of lye minimally. It can be anywhere between, like I say, 30, 32. I've overfilled the machine occasionally. It spits out that water into cup one, and then I dump out cup one. So you lose a little lye when you do that. So I like sometimes to put a little extra lye in the original mixture. So we're going to measure out 30 grams of lye. We're going to measure out 30 grams of lye on the kitchen scale or more. Just don't go under it. Minimally 30, can go higher. If you don't have a scale, I think it's trying to think what 30 grams is. You can look that up. I've had people use
Okay.
tablespoons.
Now we put the distilled water in.
Yes. Still water in there. And we're going to get our spoon. And that is 30 grams, right?
Yep.
And
32.
we're going to pour and stir. Stir, stir, stir. Keep aggressive stirring. Stir, 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 stir. Keep stirring. Keep pouring and stirring. Because that thing can settle and clump up. You don't want that to happen. Always pour the lye into the water, never the opposite. Very good. Nice, good stir. Be in a ventilated area if possible, because it can outgas a little bit. You don't have to let it sit. You can pour straight in the machine now. And it's best to do this without the tower because it's easier. You don't want to really pour from the top of a tower. So now we're going to add a little more, about a cup and a half more of distilled water only, of course.
This one.
And we're going to watch that side tube. Okay, that's good. Here's where when we get to the top, we got to watch the side tube. Make sure it doesn't go too high and get it up to that first fill line or no further than the second fill line. If you go too far, it will spit the mixture out of the top of the tower into cup one. Okay, great. Okay, now we're going to,
Up to there.
great, perfect. Now we're going to put the tower on and attach the tubing to the lid of cup one. And again, always inspect under the tower, all the connections, make sure there's no schmutz or dirt or hair. It's always good to look at everything. And we're going once again counterclockwise, 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 that's clockwise, counterclockwise, the other way.
There we go. Ah,
I know this is confusing, so it's good that you see that she's confused a little because everybody does this. You tighten counterclockwise and you untighten clockwise. You hold it in there, make sure it gets a good seat. If it doesn't get a good seat, you'll have a gas leak. Okay, great. So now we have the tower to cup one to two. Okay, so now we're going to get out our water jug and our bubbling stone and test. And we turn the machine on and we say a good little prayer and hope it works. Is it plugged in?
Mm-hmm.
The machine's plugged in
Yes,
and it's not.
it's not bubbling.
Okay, so we have what's called a nice little gas leak. So we turn the machine off.
Oh, I forgot this too.
That's where we have to be careful. Could spit water out of there. Let's turn it on again.
Okay.
So see, that's why it was not working. Uh,
Oh,
so that's why I say make a note to yourself. You're going to have a clamp on your machine. Make a big note, put it on the counter, re-cinch clamp before using. Because if you don't, it'll spit water, the lye mixture all over the place, and you don't want that. You don't have to undo the clamp, but it's easier to rinse. It takes away that back pressure. It's easier to go through these steps with the clamp, unclamp it. It's very easy to forget to put that little thing in or reclamp. Okay, so that is cleaning and getting the machine back up and running. And thank you. And we're going to go to our last video.